Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, breadwinners, thread spinners, and all those in between, you're now watching the TNF podcast with your favorite bipolar rock and roller, Mr. J. Curtis Strickland. Do me a favor, click on that like button, click on the subscribe button, click on the little bell for notifications. Like this video, comment on this video, share this video. We got some upcoming shows in the pipeline here. We've got Don Foos from Spud Monsters, Run Double Run, One Life All In. He is going to be on the 5th of May at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard. Carl Severson from Nora Ferret Records is going to be on the 19th of May at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard. That's Sunday. John Cuccinello from OS 101 Murphy's Law, 26th of May at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard. And working on filling in some dates, but then we've got Dan Zimmerman from Harvest, Hope Conspiracy. That's going to be on the 9th of June at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you would, be sure to check out Hell's Heart Merch Co. You can see the address on the bottom, hellsheartco.bigcartel.com. Use the code 20 for 20% off your entire order. We got a bunch of movie-themed and hardcore-themed T-shirts, so check it out. They're really nice shirts. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Our next guest today is the frontman of, I think, some of the best hardcore bands in existence. He's been a longtime scene veteran, vocalist of Slugfest, Despair, uh, Buried Alive, now Bad Blood, which I just recently heard, and Terror. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Vogel, what's up, man?
Not too much. How are you? Thanks for
I'm
having me.
outstanding, man.
All
Enjoying
right.
that upstate weather.
Oh, it's actually the first day that broke into the 70s. So I just got back from taking a walk in the park with my friend Ruben.
No,
I got a couple things I want to say.
sure.
If people are watching this, if they notice that I'm looking not at the camera, it's because I'm doing this on my phone and the camera image is like this big. So it'll make my head explode if I keep staring here. So I'm just
Sure.
going to daze off. And you had Buried Alive music in the intro.
That's
That's
right.
cool.
That's right, man. Yeah, like I said, like I said, influentially as far as I'm concerned, like guitar playing and like, just getting through high school. I mean, that was like I got that album when I was 17, and I think I still like I'm 41 now and it's still like in pretty consistent rotation. So, I mean, like I said, it's a banger, and I like I said, you guys were hugely influential on my style of guitar playing. So I think that's great, man. And you made the move from Los Angeles to upstate New York. And was that as a result of like the COVID lockdowns? What kind of preempted that?
Yeah, I mean, I lived in Buffalo up until Buried Alive ended. And then I moved to California. And then that's when Terror started. I lived in LA for about almost 20 years, I think 18, 19 years. And during COVID, one day my girlfriend during lockdown or whatever you want to call it, my girlfriend turned to me and said she wanted to go back to school. Um, she's since changed her major, but she wanted to go to law school. I thought this was a good opportunity for me to let her know that Buffalo has a really good law program. She applied to the school here, got in, and we put all our shit in I want to say U-Haul, but I think it was a Ryder truck, and drove back to Buffalo. It's been about 3 years now, and very happy to be back here.
It's awesome, man. Yeah, I spent 6 years in LA
Excuse me.
myself, and I didn't think I would want to make the move back east, but it's so far it's gotten better. And do you feel like, now it's kind of more of an advantageous situation because you can play with both projects at the same time?
No, I don't really even think about it like that. Definitely moving back here did give Buried Alive a little more life, but Terror is 99% of my musical life, and then I have about one. I mean, Terror's less active than we used to be, but we're still more active than many bands. So I don't really have the time or energy to give too much to any of my other bands, and I have a few others. So yeah, I don't look at it like that. It's more like I mean, LA was cool for starting a band, and it definitely being part of that whole scene was great for Terror. Um, but I'm just, like I prefer a smaller city. I prefer less people. I hate the beach. I hate sweating. So it did have some advantages, and I obviously don't regret moving to LA. But as time went on, and I didn't really need to be there for Terror because we're now spread all over the place. Like our guitarist lives in Toronto, our bass player lives in Maine, and now our drummer Nick, who's the only other original member with me, um, bought a home in Oregon. Martin, our guitarist, he's the only diehard LA person. Um, but yeah, I'm just happy to be back here, closer to my family, and people. The winter is brutal in Buffalo. I can't lie, but and this year was pretty bad. But I'd take the winter over 100-degree weather anytime.
Ooh, that's crazy, man. Yeah, my mom's side of the family's from upstate New York, and I was spoiled by that LA weather, and it was unreal. Just I miss it sometimes, but yeah, I'll take the heat. Yeah, probably over the cold. I'd have to disagree with you there. But so let's talk a little bit about your musical trajectory. Did you grow up in a household that had music playing? Did you have family members that played music? How did you get involved in music? And what was your first concert, actually? It doesn't have to be hardcore, but any genre. What was it?
So I grew up with my mom and my two sisters. Um, Getting to my stepbrother will be a little bit later, and that's like the big introduction to underground music. Um, I don't really consider myself any sort of a musician. I can just kind of scream loud and stomp around on stage like I'm mad. Um, so I don't think there's too much musicality to me. But my mom was into stuff like Bob Dylan and Willie Nelson, and we had a turntable and she had vinyl. A big thing for me was back when I was young, my mom's boyfriend at the time gave me the two Black Sabbath LPs on vinyl, the self-titled and Paranoid, which is such a cool thing when I think about it. Maybe he saw I was a little weird or evil or twisted, and he just gave me those two LPs. And from there, I went to AC/DC, Iron Maiden, the glam shit like Motley Crue and Twisted Sister and stuff like that. First concert would be some of that stuff. I saw like Rat and Bon Jovi and Motley Crue and shit like that at like where the Sabres play, like an arena. But I would go stay with my father on the weekends or every other weekend or something like that. He eventually got remarried, so my stepbrother Jay uh, came into my life, and he was the person that got me into everything, whether it was like Run DMC and Houdini. And on top of that, he was really into the Sex Pistols, Circle Jerks, and more punk stuff. Eventually, I ended up moving in with them. My mom moved to Texas with my two sisters. I went and lived with my father, my stepbrother Jay, and my stepmom. So now I was living with him, and we started going to shows together. And now I'm fucking 51, and it never stopped.
And yeah, you've got such a great trajectory as far as like bands are concerned, and what do you think is your earliest memory of any, your first hardcore show and like first getting involved in the scene up in that area?
So I moved in with my brother, and that was a big move for me. Like, I didn't really know many people. So I would, all this being said, he's younger than me. He's like 6 months younger than me, maybe 8 months younger than me. No, I don't know how long, but we're the same age, but he's a little bit younger than me. Um, I would, he was into punk stuff, and that stuff never. I really like Social Distortion. Mommy's Little Monster, that record, I really liked for some reason. But a lot of the other stuff, like the Mohawks and all that stuff, never really clicked with me. But I was probably just tagging along with him, and we would go to shows. Some early shows I can remember. We saw the Dead Milkmen. That might have been one of the first shows we saw. We saw the Butthole Surfers, the Goo Goo Dolls, who people think of as like a radio rock top.
They started out as like a punk band, didn't they?
Oh yeah, we would see them play in Buffalo to like 100 people in a tiny little VFW hall or stuff. We saw an early show I saw was DRI, Gangrene, the Goo Goo Dolls, and just from there, naturally, at the same time, it collides with hardcore. I think one of the first hardcore shows I went to was 7 Seconds and a Buffalo band called Zero Tolerance. And up to this point in my life, I really, really love sports. I still do, but when I was a little bit younger and lived with my mom, all I would do was play sports on, like organized sports, baseball, football, basketball. I'd also just play sports with kids in the neighborhood. So when I saw Zero Tolerance, it really I've never been straight edge, but they were like at the time, a straight edge band. So they're wearing Champion hoodies, heads are shaved, they're in a phase of their band that they were like kind of doing the Youth of Today thing. I hope that doesn't discount Zero Tolerance, because they're one of my favorite bands ever. But that kind of like clicked with me, that look, that style, that aggression, the way people dance to that. And I got really sucked into that, and with my brother too. And then we eventually, pretty soon after that, started our first. We had done bands where I played drums that were more like punk, but that's when we started SLUGFEST together in, I don't know, let's say 1990 or something like that.
And so, you started Slugfest, and I don't know if you know this guy, Chris Wyatt. He's a Buffalo scenester.
Yep.
He actually talked about this really rich history of, the Buffalo scene. Like, you mentioned the Goo Goo Dolls earlier, but that there was this whole like slew of bands from Buffalo that maybe, somebody else in a different region of the country may not know yet, who they are. So, what were some of those bands that you remember seeing like in that area that were of note, do you think?
Okay, I'm going to try to break this down. I mean, being in Buffalo in the late 80s, early 90s was amazing. Not only the local bands that I'll try to name, but we saw everyone came here. We saw, I saw Super Touch, I saw Rest in Pieces, I saw Turning Point, I saw Bold, I saw Vision. I mean, Slapshot. Just bands came here, hardcore bands. Also, Buffalo had a great death metal scene. People think Cannibal Corpse and Malevolent Creation are from Florida, but they're both from Buffalo. Glenn Benton from Deicides from Niagara Falls. So there was tons of death metal shows going on here. The Goo Goo Dolls, there was like this band, the Ramrods, that was like a garage punk, I guess. And we would go to all sorts of shows at that time just to get out of the house, be around weird people and places where there were females. You just go to shows. But on the hardcore front, Zero Tolerance is always going to be number one. There's a band, Solid State, that turned into Snapcase that was, really great. The Watchmen were from Lockport. They're a great band. No Joke, Slugfest, Discontent. There's an amazing band called Against All Hope, which was more melodic. People don't really know about them. A band I played drums for called Fade Away was really good. That was kind of like Turning Point meets Strife. Like Support, which is Garrett from Texas the Reason. He's from Buffalo. He did lots of bands in Buffalo. Support, Evergreen. He played bass in a band called Copper, which was,
Cool Vision.
Yeah, female actually singing, which was great, something different. And on top of that, there was like a whole straight edge scene, like Half Mast, No Reason, like Third Party Records, the singer of Half Mast, and they kind of had a different scene. There's also like Hourglass, which was like this is pre Buried Alive, so this was Buried Alive without me making it more normal. This was them being really crazy. If you think the Buried Alive stuff was guitar-y, with that, it's dumbed down by me because that's a little too much for me. I think that's enough. There's so many awesome bands here. I'm probably forgetting some of the best.
Kid Gorgeous, that was another one.
Yeah, that's Jesse from Buried Alive. Played drums for them. They were kind of like and against Every Time I Die. That was a that might be the the biggest band ever to come from Buffalo. So
yeah,
not definitely bigger than the Goo Goo Dolls, but like
So what are they doing now? Like, are they still playing? Are they still a band? I wonder.
Every Time I Die?
No, Goo Goo Dolls.
Oh yeah, they still play. There's a studio here called GCR, and ever since I moved back here, that's where I'll go. And I did the new Terror record there. I did the Bad Blood vocals there. It's a studio, and Robbie from the Goo Goo Dolls owns it. So I always record with this guy, Jason Bricky. He's great. But, I've seen Robbie there. I don't know him. I actually saw him at Target. He was with his wife at Target. I was in there, and, my knee-jerk reaction is to go up and talk to him, but then my reality takes over, and it's like, I really don't have anything to say to him, and he doesn't need to be bothered. So let's just leave it alone.
I ran into Matt Pinfield in a Target in LA, and it was just like, I could just say to him, I love 120 minutes and all those shows and stuff, but I'm like, man's just looking for some housewares or something. I don't think he really gives a fuck about talking to me. But so really interesting and kind of eclectic scene up there. And how well was SLUGFEST received in that arena?
It's to think about stuff like that. Hardcore's now is so like number based, like how many people were at the show. Oh, our show was sold out. Oh, our first pressing sold out. It's it's so business like. Back then, nothing was like that. A show with 20 people, it didn't faze anyone. That's just what it was. I think I told some stories about SLUGFEST on the first ever podcast, Jeremy from Touche Amore's podcast.
Okay.
And if I went down this rabbit hole, but the band started with, I don't know if you want to hear all this, but the band started okay, so the River Rock Cafe is the club where all those bands played, and it's very close to me. It's like a mile from here. And me and my brother would go there so much, we eventually went to the owner. Well, the guy that ran the club, his father owned it. This guy, John, he booked all the bands, he did sound, and he was there at every show. So we went to him and said, do you know any drummers? We want to start a band. He said, I play drums. So SLUGFEST starts with me, my brother, our stoner, crazy, long hair friend that's like ripped like Randy Rhoads on the guitar. The owner or operator of the River Rock, who was way old, he was like a man. We were like children. And he got his friend to play bass, who was also a man. So that's the early SLUGFEST. If you ever see any old pictures, is very bizarre. But since the guy booking the shows was in the band, our first show was with Judge. So we got cool shows. We got a little better when we got Tim Red. Those two older, the band. I think we broke up and got back together with the lineup that people that know Slugfest know, with Tim, who went on to drum in Snapcase, and we were definitely better then. But it took a while for us to get good, but we always, had an energetic show. Buffalo had a great scene. Buffalo supported its local bands. We were never on the, there was like Zero Tolerance, and then under them, Snapcase, and then, like the rest of us. But we were all friends. We all supported each other. We got to play great shows. I could list all the bands we played with, and then something really great happened. If anyone hears the two Slugfest demos, they're pretty bad. We went and recorded a 7-inch, and somehow, not that we were that great of a band, but it came out really, really, really fucking good. And I think that lit a little fire under us, gave us a little confidence. Our last couple shows were really good. I think we had a new energy, and then Tim fucking quit the band to be in Snapcase, which really pissed me off at the time. But now looking back, I could see why he did it and had to do it, and that was the end of it.
And that's a thing I think a lot of musicians learn as they get older. If, say, hypothetically, a member has the opportunity to play for like a bigger band, you used to have like this attitude where you're like, man, fuck that, fuck this guy or whatever. But then it's like you think about how many opportunities it opens up for him, and then potential opportunities that it could open up for you. So it's like I don't it seems like it's almost better, uh, when you're just kind of like, oh, hey, congratulations, you're doing a great thing, rather than kind of, being bitter about it.
I've never done the congratulations. I've been bitter. When Frank left Terror to be in Hatebreed,
Oh
I,
no.
I was pretty bitter. But you know, time gives you uh, the ability to see things from all angles and appreciate people's decisions. And he's
Yeah, yeah.
always he's always been one of my favorite people and still is. And one of the bringing up Frank, it's really crazy because Slugfest early days, the guy that was playing bass for us, he was also in a Kiss cover band, and sometime in his Kiss cover band, Slugfest would also cover God of Thunder by Kiss, and he would blow fire. I guess that's the right term,
Oh
blow
shit.
fire on stage. And I think, if you're familiar with Cleveland bands, Integrity, Ringworm,
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Confront, they hated everyone, but they all gave Slugfest a little love because all those Cleveland bands worship Kiss, and they saw this weird band from Buffalo called Slugfest with a couple hardcore kids, a long hair, and two men cover Kiss and Below Fire. So I've always had like a good relationship with all those Cleveland people when they hated everyone else.
Cleveland. Love Cleveland. If any of my Cleveland friends are watching, what's up? Um, that's crazy, man. That's wild. And did you guys ever take that show on the road, like outside of the upstate area?
I mean, so we're talking Slugfest?
Yeah, Slugfest.
We played Erie, Pennsylvania, Rochester, Buffalo, Syracuse. I don't even think we made it to Cleveland. We played Saratoga Winters, which is close to Albany, but that's about it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, sometimes your first official band, one thing that one of my bands did was we always, yeah, played in the immediate region, never did anything West Coast or anything, but always wanted to. But Despair was your next project after that. And, Richie, who does the Post America podcast, Richie from Wisdom and Chains, I tuned into that, and the two of you were talking about how, you know, if you didn't revisit another project in your life, it would be Despair. And that one really kind of surprised me. And what was your reasoning behind that?
Are you aware of the fact that Despair played a show about 6 months ago?
No.
Yes.
Oh shit.
So I believe you're saying
Okay.
I ate my words correctly. Correct.
I guess so.
Um,
I'm eating mine right now. Wow, I did not know that. That's wild.
well, when you're in so many amazing bands like me, one has to be last. I'm obviously just joking. Um, yeah, I mean, the four main bands I've been in are Slugfest, Despair, Buried Alive, Terror. Nothing's gonna compare to Terror. We're just like a fucking machine. Buried Alive is like a little bit out of my wheelhouse musically, but we're very powerful. Slugfest was my first, and a lot of first, the first time I was ever on a record and stuff like that. I mean, I guess there's some people that like Despair. It was just when I listen back to it, it's not my favorite. I don't want to dog. We played actually two shows right before New Year's and New Year's Day in Syracuse. First of all, it was great to like reconnect with those guys. Not that there was ever anything weird, but you know, everyone's spread out all over the country, and we got to spend some serious time together. The show in Buffalo went fucking great. It was really fun, and I'm really glad we did it. But I had to relearn a lot of those songs, so I had to listen to all the records. They're not that great.
That's funny, man. Hindsight's always 2020. But you guys decided to do a reunion. It was in the area, I'm assuming, and you guys were just kind of what? There was bad blood, and you were, well, pun intended, and able to kind of put that past, you know, under the bridge, water under the bridge, or was it?
No bad blood. I mean, the way Buried Alive ended, if we get there, that was a lot more. No bad blood. It just people quit the band and we broke up. But I think I just always like I was just never really interested in doing it. I guess me being back here and a kid that still he's not even a kid. I'm gonna say a kid that promotes shows in Buffalo, Chris Ring. Um, he was always kind of on me about doing it because that was like really his era. Slugfest was he was book shows back then, and he's still now like book shows professionally, whatever, however you say that. But he was always just like bringing it up, and I said, okay, Terror has this break. I'm gonna be home. It'd be cool to do it around the holidays if people are traveling back to Buffalo. And yeah, we did the show, and it was great. Yeah, but there was no bad blood with Despair at all.
It's good. Yeah, that would definitely make it harder to reunite unless that was kind of quelled. And then you did Despair, and then you guys were on you did Trust Kill, and then I remember that Kill EP from Initial, which is fucking awesome. Oh man, it's so
That
good.
one's pretty good. That one's pretty
Yeah.
good.
So you guys kind of took that show on the road as well.
Yeah, Despair went to Europe twice. We toured with Harvest. I heard you say in the beginning you're going to have Dan
Nice.
on. We did I think it was a Trust Kill tour with Brothers Keeper and Harvest. We did a tour with Snapcase. I think since they destroyed Slugfest, they kind of gave us a pity tour. I'm just joking. I'm just talking shit. Um, uh, but the end of Despair, we did. I think I want to say the very first full U.S. tour with Hatebreed. We did like a summer 6-week tour all over the country
Oh
with
wow.
Hatebreed, which was when they had their demo and the Under the Knife 7-inch out, and it was just like watching them start to take over the world. It was really fucking cool. And to be honest, like half the shows on that tour were like 50 people, but that was 50 people seeing the hardest hitting band they'd ever seen in their lives.
Oh yeah.
And it was just undeniable. And on that tour in California, we played in Chicago, and I think Tony Victory saw them. And then he flew out to California. He signed Hatebreed. He also asked Despair to do a 7-inch. So that was like a dream. To be on Victory at that time was like a dream come true. Despair gets home, 2 members quit, we break up. So I'm probably like heartbroken and like, oh, Victory was gonna be my ticket to hardcore awesomeness, and
Yeah.
then that was in the garbage. But that's why when Buried Alive started, I don't know, probably called or don't think I had email then. I probably called Victory and said, "Hey, I got this new band." Sent them the demo, and they were ready to do something right away.
Yeah, I remember hearing something like you guys hadn't even played any shows out and you got signed off that demo to Victory. Is that accurate?
I want to say no, but I don't remember. I mean,
Oh, okay.
it was like Despair broke up. I had nothing to do with the beginning of Buried Alive. I was living with Matt Roberts, the guitarist, and the other guys. So probably everything I'm saying here is kind of guessing because this is so long ago. Hourglass broke up, and Matt and Joe, guitarist and bass player, started jamming with Jesse, who is the drummer of Buried Alive, but he was also in Despair and quit the band. So they were like jamming together, and like I was saying, that it's a little more convergy, noisy, squeaky metal than it's really than what I'm into usually. But I would hear them practicing, and I'd be like, there's something really good about it. It's really powerful." And I think I was like standoffish because Jesse had already quit on me once. I gave in, or I don't know, that sounds a little dramatic. I agreed to be in the band. Things took off, like you said. I think we played even before. I don't know. Whatever. We got on Victory pretty quick because already that in with Despair. And what happens? We record the album, which came out great. Steve Evans did a great job. We're all psyched. And what happens? Jesse motherfucking quits the band. The drummer, he quits again.
And like that's the hardest one to replace too. If you wanted to
Yes.
soldier on, it's just like, you
It's
know,
tough.
yeah, that sucks. I will say, man, yeah, I agree with you there on that album. It punches. Like it's punchy as fuck, man. That's one of the reasons think one of the best hardcore albums, period, because it just like it's still I could still listen to it to this day and still feel like, holy shit, this album's good, like, so yeah, absolutely, that production quality is amazing. And you guys did I remember you played up in Hellfest, and then you did some various US tours. um, and then you said you broke up. I do remember one of my bands opened for you in Hatebreed and Love Is Red, and this was about like 20 years ago. And I asked if there would ever be another Buried Alive reunion again, and or I said, when is there going to be one again? And you said, fucking never. And I was like, oh shit, what happened?
What was your band? Where was this?
Death Blow was in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Yeah, we did. Yeah, I think that was the only time we ever opened for you guys. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I got to take a lot of the credit for the the bad blood on the Buried Alive breakup. Um, I don't want to rehash it too much because we're all in a good
Sure.
place, and I don't know if any of them will hear this. But to make a long story short, I really quit the band for reasons that I thought were important to me at the time, and literally packed up my shit and moved to California. So they were probably like, "Fuck this dude," and yeah, it took a while. You know, Jesse, the drummer, who I was just talking shit about, I've always had a good relationship with him. Scott Sprigg, the one guitarist, I've always had a good relationship with him. But Matt and Joe, looking at from their perspective, they had a right to be like, "Fuck this dude," and I never thought Buried Alive would play, but I don't know if I did or I do this band called World Be Free, and
Oh, that's right.
we played a show in Buffalo, and Matt and Joe were there, and I think it was just the first time we were all in a room together. That guy Chris Ring booked the show. He let us go into there's a small venue upstairs, a bigger venue downstairs. We played the smaller venue, he let us, me, Matt, and Joe, go downstairs to the backstage of the bigger venue, and I think me and Matt were pretty drunk, and we just talked, and there was some passive aggressive jabs thrown at each other in a joking way, but it at least got them out in the open, and we had fun, and it was good. And then I think Joe Hardcore had asked a few times for us to play This Is Hardcore, and after that fence was mended, I asked everyone, and everyone agreed to do it. So that happened too.
Nice. Yeah, and uh, I was supposed to go see that reunion at This Is Hardcore because I was like, if there's a, I never got to see you guys in your heyday. The uh, the big thing up in Syracuse when they did Hellfest was they kept switching the venue, and I have family up in upstate New York that kept sending me newspaper clippings down saying that they were moving the venue, and so I was like, they're gonna fucking cancel the show. I was like, I'm gonna get all the way up to upstate New York, and nothing's going to be going on because they canceled the show, So I never got the opportunity to see you guys in your prime back in the day. And then fast forward, you guys do the reunion at This Is Hardcore, like you said, and you know, bought bought a ticket to go see that, had a fucking hernia and had to sell my ticket. I was so fucking
Ooh,
pissed off. Yeah.
that's painful.
Yeah, I was not happy about that because I never got the opportunity to see you guys live. Do you guys
Well,
plan on doing another like tour of the U.S.?
where do you live right now?
North Carolina.
I don't think we'll ever tour.
Damn.
I mean, we play once in a while. We just went to Europe
Okay,
for the
yeah.
first time, but that was with two fill-ins because Matt and Joe, they have families and businesses that they can't get away from. Even getting
Yeah.
Joe to be able to play like three shows in a row is close to impossible. So we'll play shows here and there when it's possible, or when we get asked. 9 times out of 10, we can't do it. So that 1 out of 10 times, we play a couple shows a year. But North Carolina, I don't know.
Yeah. This is Hardcore is going to be this year as well, right?
No, 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 we're not playing.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, yeah, I mean, you guys fucking crushed it. And then, like we had mentioned before, you made the transition out into LA to go play with Terror. What was that like for you? I mean, that's a huge leap to go across the country to play for a band. What were your feelings on that? Were you like, oh man, I'm excited about this. I'm apprehensive about this. What was going on in your mind?
The story you're telling is not correct. I moved
Oh,
out there. I moved out there with the intentions of not doing any music.
oh, okay.
Um,
I thought you moved for the
all
band.
No, all three of those things were, all my bands just like gained a little bit of momentum and then broke up. So I was kind of like, I'm done with bands. I was just getting, I think when I went on tour with Despair and Buried Alive and saw all over the US and all over Canada and all over Europe. I think when you're a little bit younger and you've lived your whole life in Buffalo, you want to like spread your wings and try something different in life, and
Sure.
not even musically in life. So I moved out to California with the thought of like I'm done with this band shit, and it's really weird. Like my friend Larry, a band I didn't mention from Buffalo, this band Envy, who's a great band. Joe from Despair played guitar in that band. Matt, the bass player of Envy, was also the other guitarist of Despair. So we were very tight with them. Anyways, Larry had moved out to California before me and was working at Revelation Records. And at a certain point, he gave me this tape, and it was this band, No Warning, who were from Toronto, that I was
Right.
familiar
Yeah.
with, which
Hmm.
is funny because now Jordan from No Warning's in Terror. And on the
That's right.
other the other side of the tape was this band Carry On, which I had never heard before. And this was at a point in hardcore, let's say 2001, 2002, where bigger things were like 18 Visions, American Nightmare, uh,
So,
Throwdown. It was a little less traditional hardcore, a little more
sure.
fashionable, the look. Um, and Larry gave me this tape and he said, I think you're going to really like this. And both those bands were fucking perfect. And, you know, I got this tape, there was a dubbed cassette, and I'm hearing these new bands and I'm getting psyched. And then I get a phone call, hey, Scott, you know, ex members of Carry On are starting this new band. We heard you just moved out west. Do you want to sing for it? And I honestly, in my heart, I was like, I don't want to be in a band. But then I heard Nick and Todd Jones jam, and I was just like, this is like perfect. It's like
Really?
exactly what I wanted. I didn't think I was signing up for 20 plus years and touring fucking 8 million times. But yeah, that was it. That was 2002, and here we are.
It's great. And you know, like to think of that, because I even remember the first, like the Terror demo. Like that thing was like circulating, and everybody's like, "Oh, Scott from Barry Live and the dudes from Carry On have a new band. It's called Terror." And I'm like, "Terror, like sheer terror?" I'm like, it was confusing to me. But then, yeah, that demo started circulating around, and you know, I was in North Carolina at the time, and I mean, we were just fucking floored by it. And then you know, you guys did the lowest of the low, and you want to talk about a punchy album. That album fucking slays from like start to finish, you know. It's just so it's fast, it's unrelenting, and it doesn't give a shit, you know. And I think that was, you know, really kind of you know, the whole ethos that, you know, drew me into hardcore and you know, you guys just really nailed it on that album. And then, you know, you guys kind of hit the road after that and like, you know, we've seen you guys on like metal tours and things like that. And you know, how have you been able to keep it going for so long? Like, what is it? Uh, what's everybody's kind of collective attitude? Like, do you guys kind of I know like Slayer will tour in separate buses and things like that. Do you guys hang out outside of doing the band, or you? I mean, you said everybody's cross country now, but did it ever? I mean, are you guys friends outside of the band?
Yeah, honestly, at the point we're at now is the calmest, most chill, friendly. Everyone's good to each other. Everyone genuinely cares about each other. Everyone knows what pisses the other person off. And at certain points, you would try to push that button to get a reaction. Now you try to, like, you know, polish the button so it can't be pushed.
Sure.
I mean, we're all, you know, I'm the oldest, but everyone's, I don't know if Chris is quite 40 yet, but, you know, we're 50, mid 40s. Let's say Chris is 40, but I think he's like maybe 39. I don't know how old you are, Chris, if you hear this. But everything's easy now, but there there's many insane years of terror with drinking and a lot of fights at our shows and inter band fights and touring 9 months straight and injuries, like just touring through an injury, um, going all over the world. It's been a crazy ride, but now we've all kind of matured and things are pretty calm. Yeah, one thing you touched on, yeah, we've toured with everybody from Behemoth to trying to think of like
Remember,
an
you guys did a
emo.
Shadows Fall tour, and
Yeah,
yeah,
many
yeah.
metal bands. I was looking for like an emo band, but I don't think we've ever toured with an emo band.
Well, I would kind of say that's probably a lot of the what I think you guys can owe a lot of your success as a band to is kind of branching out there and doing a lot of those different tours with like different genres and subgenres, you know, because it bring you know, I saw you guys on the Warp Tour one year and I was like, holy shit. But I mean it's pretty appropriate at the same time, you know. I mean it's the same kind of vein of music, you know. So would you say that that's something that kind of like attracted a lot of new listeners to Terror? Would be like branching out and doing those other tours?
Yeah, I think our live show is one of our high points. So usually you put us in front of anyone, will definitely win over most people. There's definitely always some people that are like, why is this person stepping on me? Why is this singer telling him to step on me? Like, that don't get it, which is understandable. But our live show, usually we can win the crowd over, even if they have no idea who we are. Do we keep them for the rest of our lives? I don't know. You know, a lot of tours will do these bigger things and play to like a couple thousand people, but we come back and headline. You definitely can see the people that came that are new to our like headlining show, but it's not like out of those 2,000 people that 500 of them came. You know, maybe like 20 of them came, which is great. You know, but also branching out like that really is an awesome thing to play to different people, meet different bands.
Sure.
Uh, you know, just doing the same thing over and over and over. If we were just to play with our favorite bands like Death Threat and All Out War over and over and over, that's gonna just like drive you into the ground. So you gotta be open minded and take chances and play to different crowds, and
Sure.
that will keep you interested and keep different people interested in you, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's a good tactic to approach, any said band. Um, and you guys ended up signing to Trustkill later, which was like the label at the time for like hardcore, and also had a lot of those other bands like, Poison the Well, 18 Visions, the bands of that kind of era. Um, how did you guys feel about that? Because it's quite a shift from a label like Bridge Nine. Was that kind of like a calculated decision, or they offered you the best deal?
Um, I mean, I had a relationship. I think the Despair Pattern Life is the first LP on Trustkill Records. So
That's true. Yeah.
Josh is from New Jersey, but he went to college in Syracuse. So I knew him pretty decently and had a, I don't know how much Despair was a business relationship, but I had worked with him before. Bridge Nine was amazing. Um, how do you say something like this? I think we were just growing and getting so many opportunities that we just needed something a little bit bigger.
Sure.
And Trustkill seemed like the next move. It still was definitely based in hardcore, but was branching out. And I guess that goes to show that we were wanting to grow. You know, there's a lot of bands that just have 2 feet in hardcore and don't want to do some of the stuff I'm playing. They don't want to play bigger shows. They don't want to play with barricades. They don't want to play with metal bands. They don't want to be on a label like Trustkill, and I totally respect that. And some of my favorite bands in the world are of that mindset. But for Terror, we just had we never had a plan or a goal or anything like that. But I do remember when we started, we just said, if we're all gonna like quit our jobs and do this full time, let's take every opportunity. Let's be open minded to opportunities and try to really, and at that time we were playing like 300 shows a year. Maybe that's a stretch, but a lot. We were touring over and over and over and over,
Yeah.
and I think we just wanted something a little bit of a wider reach.
Sure. Yeah. No, and I mean, you mentioned a lot of the touring, having to be on the road a lot of the time. Uh, how how did you feel about, I guess, what's your biggest what's your
Regret.
biggest kind of apprehension about doing a band and going on the road?
I don't know if this is an apprehension, but I've recently really 99% cut back on the drinking because there's years and years that I was drinking way too much on the road. And now touring, I don't want to come across like I'm straight because I will still have a beer, but uh, there were years when I was just blackout drunk on stage, and that just causes a lot of trouble
Sure.
inside myself, breaking things, being an asshole to people, being hungover, all that shit. And now touring without that, it's really opened my eyes to probably how fucking annoying I was and how much time I wasted and a lot of stupid shit I did. So I don't know if that's a regret because it's just all part of the fucking journey. But I'm pretty glad that I'm not doing that right now. It's not to say that tomorrow I'm not going to be drunk again because it's not like I'm Mr. Straight Edge Sobriety. I'm just feeling good not drinking right now.
Not a friend of Bill W's.
Mhm.
Um, what was I gonna say though? So you guys, yeah, I remember you toured with 18 Visions, American Nightmare. That was a pretty big deal because that rolled through our town. And what's an interesting tour story that you've had with just about any band, whether it be Terror, Buried Alive, whatever, something that only a hardcore band that tours on the road could experience. Crazy story.
I mean, the first thing that's coming to mind is like meeting like Vinny Paz from Jedi Mind Tricks. Um, like I don't know exactly how this all came together, but Andy Williams, who was in Every Time I Die, used to roadie. I don't know what you call it. He used to come on the road with Buried Alive and mosh for us. And I guess you call it a roadie, but I don't know what he was doing. He was moshing, and he was really into Jedi Mind Tricks. That's the first time I heard them, and I've always been into hip hop my whole life. And they were like Jedi Mind Tricks is a rap group that I really liked. And somehow we got word that Vinny Paz was really into hardcore, and he wanted to come out and see Terror. And this is going to go back to drinking a lot. He came out to one of our shows, and we ended up getting drunk and hanging out and talking hardcore and hip hop all night. And then every time we came near Philly, or one time he came out to LA, and I think he was doing those Rock the Bell shows, and he had a house in Hollywood, and I would go over there and drink, and I went to Rock the Bells with. I think I went with them in the little like bus van, and developed a relationship with him, and then um, over time he ended up singing. We recorded a breakdown cover, and he sang on it. And for anyone that's never heard that, he's got such a cool hardcore voice. So like just like stuff like that, like getting to meet people from a different world. Like we toured with Behemoth once, and that's like such an outside the box thing. But like after a week of touring with them, we're like we're like drinking with them, and they're like taking our new era fitted hats and wearing them, and walking around wearing our hats like cocked to the side, and like just
That's
like
great.
all the relationships you get to make with people is pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, made some of the best friends that I've ever made through hardcore and even through this podcast. It's an incredible experience. I think that, a lot of people that have like an outside perspective of hardcore think we're all just angry and that we all hate each other, which can be true sometimes, but typically en masse, it's like, we're, just all, having a good time and everything is cool. And let's see here. Question for Scott. What was Inferno like?
What is Inferno?
Oh, the drummer from Behemoth, it says.
Oh, I can't decipher the band. I know Nurgle because he's the front man. All those guys, like I remember, we did this tour. It was called Sounds of the Underground with them, and I think, funny enough, I think they were playing right before us every day. So it was an outdoor tour. So we're outside, like a festival tour like that. You're like behind the stage setting your stuff up while the band before he's playing. So every day we're kind of like feeling each other out, and they're watching us, and like Martine from Terror loves that band, so we're like getting. It took about a week to break the ice, and then we were just chilling, and they were all super cool. loved to drink, and at that time we were like a little bit out of our minds. So we were drinking together all the time. They were super fucking cool, and we run into them once in a while. We'll play a festival usually in Europe, and they're very friendly and very cool.
It's awesome. All right. If anybody else has any more questions, feel free to field them this way. Um, Yeah, Damien from S Friends Rust came on the show and was talking about how whenever he was in Europe in Paris, that an angry mob attacked them and like broke the windows in the van while they were in the fucking van and all this other crazy shit. So, yeah, it's always interesting hearing road stories, but even if they're positive ones, like just meeting cool people. That's what it's about. And you guys have, yeah, you've had this incredible history, this incredible tenure within the hardcore scene. What are the goals of Terror? Like, what do you guys plan on doing within the next 5 years, do you think?
Uh, we've started talking about a new record. We have so much music out at this point; it's not like a big stress to get a new record out. But the last record called "Pain into Power" came out. I don't know. It feels like 2 years ago. That could be a guess. So I guess it's time. And we got together once, and we wrote two new songs. So that's something we got to get into. But we've just been touring so much, and we have so much touring already planned till the end of the year. It's almost nonstop. Um, Honestly, at this point, like we're getting really good tours all the time. So that's a huge blessing. I'm not taking that for granted. So the touring thing's really kind of covered. Um, Honestly, just try to keep our fucking sanity, and everyone's getting older, so try to stay healthier on the road. Um, I'm trying to think if there's anywhere we've never been to Alaska. That's something that I would like
That'd
to
be cool.
do. Maybe we went to Puerto Rico once, but this was like early 2000s. Getting back there would be cool. Um,
Apparently, they have a pretty amazing scene out there. So,
yeah, my brother's band's gone there more recently than I have, and he said it was great. I mean, not that we've like made millions of dollars or done all these crazy things, but I think we're very content with where we're at. I guess one of the things is just staying relevant with the youth. Hardcore's got so many young bands and young kids, and the turnover always coming. And trying to stay relevant with all those new kids is definitely something that it's not something that we calculate, but something that's important to us because uh, that's what's going on, and that's where the energy and all the if you want the kids to go off, you need the young kids there. So that's something we always try to hope for, and that's all I can really think of.
no, I hear you, man. I mean, those are you know great kind of aspirations to have. Um, let's see here. Jason Mills, question for Scott. I saw you guys with a lot of black death metal bands, and you guys still killed it. Is the mind state different playing after a death metal band?
I mean, we never change up the set list or anything, or change the way we look or talk or anything. I think with a show like that, you got to realize, if it's, like we toured with Black Dahlia Murder recently, we toured with Dying Fetus in the last couple of years. I think in a show like that, a hardcore show, you can sometimes expect the first song for kids to just start jumping off the stage and singing along and stuff. I think like that, you got to remember a lot of people there are brand new to you, and maybe this is the first hardcore band they're ever seeing. So you kind of, if you don't get that pop immediately, just let it ramp up. And hopefully by the middle of the set, it's getting kind of crazy. And then by the end, hopefully it's really going off. So I think if you just look at the first song and say, "Oh man, these people aren't reacting," you might be selling yourself short. You kind of just got to give it time for people to latch onto what you're doing, and
Right.
and get the energy.
Yeah, just let it like crescendo, let it go up. Let's see here. Survival Bay Area says, "Hey, no questions, just Scott. You are the undisputed goat hardcore frontman for me. Thanks for the inspiration and legacy."
Thank you for the kind words. I definitely got a long list of people in front of me, but I'll take the compliment. Thank you.
Who's the most influential frontman for you, or frontmen, plural?
Um, Mark from Zero Tolerance is a big one that a lot of people, if you're from this area, like Syracuse, like Earth Crisis gives ZT a lot of props. If you're from Buffalo, a lot of people outside of here really don't know too much about Zero Tolerance. But for me, growing up, like I would look at Mark like he was a guy. I mean, I still do. Like I've just recently, I always knew him a little bit because he knew like I would come to any of their shows and go off for their whole set. But I've recently, in the last couple of years, talked to him more and become friends with him. But he's someone I really look up to. Freddie Madball is incredible frontman still.
Yeah.
Um, Rest in peace to Eddie Sutton. He's definitely
Mhm.
outside of my box. Like that motherfucker could actually sing, but he was such a great frontman. Jamie, uh, like I when Hatebreed came out, watching him just control a crowd, unbelievable. Um, Ray Capo, like Youth Today, unbelievable. Just there's a lot of great ones.
Yeah, still going at it too.
So, someone
Um,
too, like sorry to cut you off. Someone too,
no,
like Aaron from Death Threat, who like might not even break a sweat on stage, and like for me, I'm like jumping around and screaming and giving it all, and Aaron can just walk out, and he's just so cool that he doesn't have to
that's
break
a
a
good,
sweat. Yeah, it's fucking
yeah,
pisses me off.
that's an interesting way of putting it, because that, yeah, definitely he kind of saunters out. I remember watching like live videos of him. I've never caught him live, but like, yeah, he kind of got a real just kind of debonair attitude about it. Just, yeah, here, let's play some hardcore, you know?
Jorge from Marauder too, man. Voice
Oh,
and
no doubt.
stage presence, unbelievable.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, he's incredible. What's up, Jorge, if you're watching? Let's see here. Okay, so we're caught up on those. Um, Now, is there a Terror album or any of your projects albums that you feel is very personal to you, like even more so than the others?
Can I give you a song or
Sure.
there's a song on Keepers of the Faith called Shattered, which I wrote about ruining a relationship I was in, like a 9 year relationship. And even still, when I listen to it, because, I was a bad person to a good person. And I remember when we recorded it or the record came out, I was like, I can't play this because I'll fucking start crying. And even when I listen to it now, I'll get like chills because it's deep and reminds me of what a piece of shit I could be very easily.
Yeah. Cool. Wow. Yeah, I'm not acknowledging your last statement. I'm just saying, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. Wow. Yeah, that's pretty heavy, man. Let's see. Survival Bay Area says, bro, they played Shattered the last time they came here, and it was hard.
We did. We actually put it. Uh, we did some shows with Outburst and Mind Force. I'm pretty sure this is what he's talking about because I think I've got the story straight. We actually, for the first time, put it in the set list ever, and it's been too long. Like no one really knew it, so we took it out. It wasn't the I was too sad. It's like, all right, I'm ready to play this, and then we played it, and people kind of just stared at us, and we were like, ah. We put the song in the closet for too long, and now it's got some mildew on it.
That's great. Um, Now, I think I also recall hearing on Richie's podcast too. Um, One album that you were just kind of like, whatever about was "The Damned, the Shame." What's the reasoning behind that? Was it kind of like a, because I know a lot of people can harken back to, like you mentioned with that song, like their kind of psychological state at the time, or what they were going through in their life. Why that album specifically?
I love Richie. He's a great person, and Wisdom and Chains are amazing. Um, I attribute that to where, like what you're saying, where the band was at and where I was at. That was like maybe my drunkest. Excuse me. I also remember writing the lyrics for that record. I was too preoccupied with other stuff in my life, and I was so unprepared. Like I was about to track the vocals the next day, and I had the song, so I'm like, life sucks. What rhymes with sucks? I need to make a few more bucks. Like totally phoned in the lyrics. They don't really mean too much, which I hate because lyrics should be important to everybody. Um, Drinking a lot, and that was at a time when Terror kind of started taking a lot of tours with like Emure and Chimera. That was like the touring cycle we were doing on that. And all this to be said was the next thing we did was Keepers of the Faith because we kind of like within the band said, let's kind of refocus on what's important to us, tour with the bands that we want to tour with. Not to say that anything against Chimera and Amura, because I really appreciate those bands taking us out, but just was kind of, we were doing too much of that, and like we were feeling kind of removed from what was important to us. And then I think we came back with Keepers of the Faith making a statement of more about what Terror should be doing, not what we were doing at the time.
It's awesome, man. That's yeah, I mean, definitely remember projects in my life where I kind of don't want to revisit them just because of, where I was at. So, um, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. And I wouldn't have noticed that the lyrics were phoned in because, I think, your writing's great. So that's interesting that I'll have to go back and kind of read some of the lyrics to see, oh, was this like Dr. Seussical or something, or is this real, like, so. Let's see here. And as far as as literature, do you watch TV? Do you watch movies? I know you said you're a sports guy. What do you do aside from, being involved in hardcore?
Uh, at this point in my life, I'm really good at doing things alone. Uh, Going on tour for 20 years straight, like I have no problem going out to eat by myself. I'll go to the movies by myself. I'll go to Sabres games by myself. I will not go to Buffalo Bills games because it makes me feel like I'm in LA with like 60,000 people. Like I'd much rather stay home and watch the Bills.
Yeah.
But a lot of years being on tour, I've always liked sports, but I've kind of was really hard to keep up. But now I'm more. I really like boxing. I like the Sabres. I like the Bills. The NHL playoffs are going on right now. So sports is definitely something I'm into. I take a lot of walks. I try to get 20,000 steps a day. I'm at the point where I'm doing yoga I've had problems with my back and neck. But I really do a lot of stuff alone. I definitely am. I cannot sit still. So every day I'm doing stuff, going to the post office, going for walks, taking care of this, doing my laundry. I'm very active, but it's usually by myself. I still definitely go to shows all the time. Um, Really stuff that would be considered boring, but that's really great for me when we were just in Europe for like 5 weeks. So when I come home and don't have to see anyone, that's heaven to me. Um, Shows wise, I watched for the second time the movie Joker.
Oh,
Unbelievable.
yeah.
I like all the. I mean, there's a million things I like, but just things that come to the top of my head. All the Fargo series are fucking awesome. Some better than
Good, huh?
others. So good. I like Lost a lot. The first couple seasons of Lost. Shawshank Redemption's one of my favorite movies.
Fucking incredible film.
Uh, Mystic River.
Good one.
Memento. Um, what's the? I just saw. Um, what's the movie with all the people from Boogie Nights and Tom Cruise? Magnolia.
Oh, Magnolia. Yeah, yeah.
That's a great movie.
Oh, that's a
Uh,
downer movie though. You need like a
I,
half a day to recover after it.
I I hate to say this, but I really any movie that pushes me to stop myself from crying is a good movie to me. Like that,
Good. They call them feel bad movies.
well, I like to feel bad. Anything that like anything like this really isn't like that. But Cape Fear is a movie I really love. I'm trying to think of other
Wait, the
series.
original or the remake? The one with De
The
Niro
the
and
De
Nick.
Niro. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Um, I'm trying to think of other series that really the Michael Jordan series. Uh, the basketball thing about Michael Jordan and how fucking crazy he is. I can't think of the name of that.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see it, but I know the one you're talking about.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, the motherfucker was so competitive. It was insane. Miracle, the hockey, the USA 1980 Olympic
Oh,
team
yeah.
movie. That's probably my favorite sports movie ever. Um, is We Are Marshall? Do you know that movie where the plane
No.
crashes? I think it's
No.
a I think it's called We Are Marshall. It's a the beginning. It's a high school football team, and sorry for spoiler alert, but this movie's like 20 years old. The very beginning is the team's plane crashes, and I think almost all of the team dies.
Oh, are you
That's like
talking about like Alive, the Uruguayan
no. That's a soccer
oh,
movie where they eat each other, right?
yeah, yeah, I love that
No, no.
movie. But oh, okay, because they did a remake of that here recently. I don't know what the hell
Ja-
it's called. People of the Snow or something. I can't remember. But
oh.
anyway,
Um,
um,
I think that's a good amount. I mean, I could keep
yeah,
going
yeah, for
forever,
sure.
but
No doubt, no doubt. Now you mentioned boxing. What do you think? What do you think's going to go down in the upcoming Tyson versus Jake Paul bout?
I don't care. I don't care about that.
No.
Mike Tyson's a legend and he's the coolest, but I don't care about Jake Paul.
Okay.
That stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
That's just weird to me.
that's a good answer. Yeah. Well, I'm I, one of my buddies was like, it's not going to be good for Jake Paul either way because yeah, okay, he's got what like, he's yeah, he's 30 years younger than Tyson, I think, at this point. And, yeah, we grew up Tyson being a legend. And so it's like, if he just beats him, then he sucks. If he wins, then he still sucks. So like it's a lose-lose situation for him all around. That's kind of my thoughts on the matter. But yeah, Jake Paul, who the fuck is he? Let's see here. Question for Scott. Would you ever do an anniversary tour with a certain Terror album?
Yeah, like a year ago or so, we did Lowest of the Low front to back, which and some other songs because it's only 15, 17 minutes or something. I guess right now we're coming up on one with the underdogs. I think if we ever did something like that, I would want to play like, let's say we'd come out and do like I can't say hits, the strongest songs off one with the underdog. So let's say the first half of the set is that, and then play some other mix of other Terror songs. But I wouldn't mind leaning into certain records. It's just really hard to play something front to back, especially like one with the underdogs. I think it's like 14 songs, and there's just some that are filler and yeah, I don't know.
Those hidden tracks that are on there, yeah. Let's see here. Okay. Um, and what do you do anything outside of the band? Are you fortunate enough to be just your band as your main uh, source of sustenance, or have you ever had to work any other jobs while doing any of your projects?
Um, no, terrors. I do little. I I get money from other areas minutely. I'm always hustling and making shit happen, but uh, since Terra started, I don't think I've worked another job since 2003. I will
That's
take
amazing.
this little pat on the back. Around 2010, I was managing Trapped Under Ice and Stick Your Guns. That was the last other job I had, but I didn't last very long. I wasn't very good at it, and those bands were destined to be more than I could give them.
It's amazing, man. Now let's talk LA a little bit. You ended up landing in LA for, you said 18 years, I think was the number you said, and then you know got there, I guess, in the early 2000s. What were some of your favorite things to do there? I know you mentioned like the beach wasn't one of your things, but like what sort of clubs did you go to as far as music venues? What were some of your favorite things to do while you were in that area?
When I got out there, like Showcase Theater was the club that was fucking popping off all the time. Um, the Cobalt Cafe, which was a little closer to me, so I didn't have to drive. Like it was crazy. Like being from Buffalo, when you got to LA, and you'd be like, "All right, we got to drive like 30 miles to the Showcase Theater, but it's going to take 2.5 hours." I'd be like, "How?" And then you would just be in bumper to bumper traffic for 2 hours. It was very hard to get used to. Chain Reaction, great shows. Fuck, man, I feel like my brain doesn't work so much. Um, yeah, the beach to me, it's just like sweating and laying in the dirt. That's not fun. Um, what would I do? I'm not really the type of guy that goes out much. It was just like one cool thing about LA is if you were open minded, you could go to a show any night. There'd be like a death metal show, like a Warped Tour type of show, a hardcore show, a hip hop show. You could see music all the time. Great hiking, amazing hiking. When it wasn't 100 degrees, the weather was perfect. Um, other shit. And at that time, when I first moved out there, like all the guys from like Donnybrook and Internal Affairs, and I was just like thrown into like all new types of people. I was just mostly hanging out with friends, drinking, being an idiot.
It's awesome, man. Let's see here. Survival Bay Area said another thing people kind of pass over always the hard way. That breakdown and strike you down is one of Terror's best for real.
We still play that song once in a while. It's great. It's a good
Nice.
song.
Um, yeah, I mean, LA, I think was one of those places where it was just like, yeah, like you mentioned, you could go to see any show, um, any type of genre of show. You could, there's always something to do in other regards, uh, I think I caught Saint Vincent for free out there one time. Never heard of her, but I just went to the show because it was available, and so. Um, and like Terror, like as far as like home base shows are concerned, I mean, where ideally do you guys play as far as that's concerned?
I mean, we'll always consider LA a hometown show. Um, when Terror plays in Buffalo, we get a little extra love, I guess, because I'm from here. Um, Chicago's a place I always look forward to going, but LA is going to always be the place that we claim. Um, you know, there's certain places that I want to bring up, but it's weird. Like you'll tour somewhere and have such a great show, and then you'll go back and maybe the scene dipped a little bit. So I think that's one of the great things about Terror. We never like we don't let things get to us too much. Obviously, you want every show to be great. You want every show to be packed, but um, just never let ego get to us too much. And when something sucks, tomorrow's going to be better. that's something I really appreciate. We'll still go play in a parking lot or a basement or a backyard. We have no problem with anything like that. We can play on other bands' gears. Everyone's just ready to go and doesn't complain too much. And sometimes when a band's been around for a long time or has like a high point when they have to go back down and play on some shitty gear in a fucking basement, they'll bitch about it. But everyone in Terror is pretty level headed and we'll just go do it and make the best out of it.
You could have some fucking insane shows like that. I mean, some of the best shows I've
Yeah.
seen have been like in
Give me
tiny
a basement
ass
show.
venues. Yeah, like things that didn't really have any right holding a hardcore show in. You know, I've seen them in like, oh god, I saw something in some crazy ass venue one time. You know, but that's the kind of the power of hardcore is that you know you can take not your typical venue and you know just the power of the music kind of fucking flips it on its head. Let's see here, Scott. Do you think the older shows were more diverse or are now more one style? Or I think meant to say, or are they now more one style? You guys play with any subgenre? I don't understand if this is a question or statement.
I think it has to do with who you're playing with. Kind of if the bill's diverse, you'll probably get more of a diverse crowd. The past versus now diversity. I mean, hardcore's in a pretty good place right now where there's all sorts of people coming out to shows. Right now might be more diverse, but I think it really has to do with the bands that you're playing with. You know, that's why you like to. No one needs to play with 3 other bands that sound just like Terror. That's not too interesting for anybody.
Let's talk about Bad Blood a little bit. How did you? What was the whole kind of genesis of that project? How did that come to be?
When I moved back here, it was like, you know, mid COVID ish, so there wasn't many shows going on. But once I started seeing what was happening in Buffalo when I moved back, there was just a lot of younger kids doing really good stuff. And it's just in my nature to want to do something. I just wanted to do a band with people in Buffalo and have something to do at local shows and when I'm off. So I kind of figured out who I thought would be the right people, assembled a cast of wackos, and we made a record. And really, Flat Spot put it out, and that was really cool of them because I think they knew everyone in the band was in other bands, and obviously I'm pretty busy. So for a label that really gives a lot to their bands to put something out for us was really cool. So we put out it's a 12-inch, I think it's 5 or 6 songs, and you know, we've played mostly shows in Buffalo, but we played in New York. Where else have we played? I don't know where else we played, but mostly right around here. And it's just something to do when we're all, you know, it's people from like Violent Way and Exhibition, Buffalo bands, and stuff like that. So everyone's pretty busy, but once in a while a show comes up where we can do it.
Right on, right on. What influentially, like, what do you guys kind of go to?
Warzone, that's the number one. Bad Blood's
Put that here in the
like Warzone and Breakdown and like, you know, everyone in the band. Well, Violent Way is a 3-piece now, and all 3 of those people are in the band, so they're more into skinheady oi stuff, which really isn't my forte. But I'm sure that has some of the influence too.
Yeah, and we didn't get to cover any ground with World Be Free. How did that whole project come to be about? I know Porcell from I thought Porcell was involved in that. No?
Sammy, probably you think it's Sammy, the drummer of
Oh no,
Youth to
I knew
Today
he
and Just.
was, but I thought Purcell was as well. No, okay. Well, I'm wrong. I'm in error. What was the whole impetus to start that?
That was when I was living in LA. I think I just had this realization that every band I've ever been in is just like angry, in your face, aggressive hardcore. And I listen to like Hot Water Music's probably my favorite band ever. I love Lifetime, Texas the Reason, Dag Nasty, Gorilla Biscuits. That's like I listen to so much melodic stuff. So the goal was to try to do something like GB, but I can't sing good enough, so it landed more. I don't know where it landed. Where it landed, but that's the first time in any band where I've actually sang a little bit. It's not a ton. I can, but there's some notes in there, and it's more melodic. And I guess it was just to do a band that was less focused on someone getting their nose broke and more focused on smiling. Um, with the connection, so it's Sammy from all Revelation bands, and Andrew from Strife, my friend Joe, who was in Despair and Envy with me. He lives in California, and he's great at writing melodic stuff. He's in the band. The first record was Arthur from Gorilla Biscuits on bass. The second record was Alex from Chain Strength. Excuse me. And yeah, because of the Rev connection, probably Sammy had Revelation put it out, which was a dream come true, and it was really cool. Now with me being back to Buffalo and everyone's in that band's and super busy, we haven't played shows in a while, so maybe it's dead, maybe it's not.
Let's see here. Are you sometimes getting tired of touring this much?
Yes. I mean, when I said that I haven't worked any other job, you said amazing, and then you started saying something else, and I almost wanted to interrupt you and acknowledge how amazing it is. So I'm very lucky. I haven't worked. Um, I got to travel the world 10 times over. I've seen so many things. I've met so many people. I'm very, very lucky. But at this point, sometimes I dread going on tour. You said something also earlier about everyone thinks hardcore kids are just angry. A lot of times before we have to play, I say out loud, now I got to go pretend I'm mad because, I'm like in a great mood and I got to go stomp around like I'm pissed off. But I acknowledge that I'm very lucky and I have a very, very cool life. But man, living out a suitcase and playing so much, it's a grind.
It's like an average off time for you guys.
Could be 3 months, could be a month, could be a week. We start a tour with Drain in about 10 days. I think we were in Europe. I think I got a month home, which is really cool. Then after that, I'm home for a month and we go to Europe. And then we have about 10 days and we go to Australia, and that brings us up to September. So it's stuff like that.
That's insane. Let's see here. Question for Scott. What do you think of the beatdown, crowd-killing style of hardcore that appeared in the past several years?
I think the question is referring to I don't know. People can do whatever they want. I guess if you go to that type of show, you know what's going to happen. I look at some of it and I think it's a little bit silly. But man, when I was a little bit younger, you couldn't get me to calm down at a hardcore show, so I get it. Stigmata, Cold as Life, Dying Breed, Hate Breed, Marauder. That's some of my favorite music. So I've seen a lot of crazy shit, but sometimes it's a little goofy, but sometimes it's cool as fuck. I don't know.
What do you think about this newest era of like hip hop? Like, who do you think are some of the
Ooh.
better artists of this era?
Well, Buffalo has the whole Griselda thing, which is super fucking cool. West Side Gun, Conway the Machine, Benny the Butcher. Some of the more modern stuff that I listen to is like Rock Marciano from Long Island. He's incredible. Mayhem Lorenz, really good. I think Freddie Gibbs is unbelievable. Not that this guy's new, but Black Thought from the Roots is underappreciated. He might be the greatest ever. Yeah, that's some of the newer stuff that I think is really good.
Nice. Okay, let's see. James here says last century. Okay. Um, yeah. Yeah. I'm actually not familiar with a lot of those artists. But I guess kind of the whole LA sound, like um, oh wait, here Jason says Black Thought is probably the best rapper currently. Okay. Wow. Rap skill wise, he says. Okay. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, no, I mean, like, I guess a lot of like the mumble rap, I guess, is kind of that was so prominent over LA. Do you think any of it is worth a damn?
That's all out of my realm. If you name someone specific, I'll probably tell you I never heard them.
Let's see here. Who's that one guy? His name is escaping me right now. The one that
I'm not
Young
gonna know.
Dolph, Young Dolph. Nah.
No clue.
Okay.
I like 3 6 Mafia a lot. That's probably the closest I get to like super ignorant rap.
Right on, right on. Let's see here. All right. No, James said mumble rap. I said mumble rap. Okay. Well, Scott, I want to thank you for coming on the show. And is there anyone you want to shout out as far as like newer bands or newer projects or even just people?
Well, I think this isn't what you asked, but Terror's about to hit the road with Drain and Scowl and Angel Dust and End It. That's a really cool tour all over the US for the next 5 weeks. End It's a band I really like that's pretty young. Combust is from New York, is one of my favorite bands that's out right now. There's a lot of good shit. I mean, um, a lot of stuff leans away from the traditional sound of hardcore, and I think that's really cool. And just as long as people are coming from the heart and the energy is real, I can get into anything. It doesn't, like I grew up. Hardcore is something I grew up on bands from the late '80s and '90s. It doesn't need to sound like that, but I just look for authenticity and real energy and real anger or real happiness. There's nothing wrong with happy bands that are trying to do something positive. There's good stuff all over the place.
Right on, man. Right on. And Jason just said, I like how open minded you are, Scott. You are not tied to one sound.
Catch me
Nice.
behind closed doors and I'll speak differently. No, I'm just joking.
Fuck this band. All right. Well, I'm going to be sure to post all your social media links down here, and where to find Terror and where to stream your music and everything. Um, like I had mentioned at the top of the hour, I have a merchandising company. It's called Hell's Heart Merch Co. You can see the address there down in the bottom. It's hellsheartco.bigcartel.com. Let me throw up some samples here real quick. Got the Black Flag mock right there. Got the Steve McQueen bullet design, and got the Psycho 2 design. Got the Scream Randy glow in the dark, or excuse me, the Tatum one glow in the dark, and then we got the Randy glow in the dark right there. So y'all, it'd be awesome if you went over there and purchased a shirt, and you could use a code 20 for 20% off your entire order. Print it on Bella Canvas, tri-blend, polyester, cotton, rayon. They're the shit. They feel great. Let's see here. So somebody said missing link is good. All right.
Yes, Missing Link is good, very good.
Missing link. Okay, I'll have to check them out. Well, cool. I want to thank everybody for joining the chat. Like I said, click on that like button, click on the subscribe button, click on the little bell for notifications, and share this video, comment on this video. Scott Vogel, man, you've been awesome, dude. I really appreciate you coming and doing this. And I know Terror is going to be here in Charlotte in May sometime, so I'm gonna have to go check that out.
Please do.
Yeah, absolutely, and everybody support Terror and catch them on the road. And Scott, hang out for a minute. I get everybody that comes onto the show a shirt, so I got a shirt coming your way. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Namaste, God bless, and be good, Joe.